सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. So, we are on the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in that Vyasa ji is just describing the situation in which later the Gita dialogue is going to take place, where Arjuna will become the Shishya and Bhagwan will become the Guru. He will become Jagat Guru because through Arjuna, he is going to give this self-knowledge to humanity. Presently, Arjuna is just a soldier, he is a warrior here, and Bhagwan is his charioteer, he is his driver. But after some time, when the Gita Upadesh will start, the roles are going to change. So here in the Mahabharata war which is happening, both Pandavas and Kauravas are all standing there battle ready. And as we had seen earlier in the last classes, we've seen that Duryodhana, when he comes and sees the army, he gets a little nervous, and he first assesses both the armies. He lists the names of the prominent people there in the army, and then he comes to a judgment. After really assessing, he says that Pandava's army seems stronger than the Kauravas' army. He thinks their army is stronger. When objectively, seeing visibly, the Kauravas' army was bigger and better, and Pandava's army was much smaller. It had less divisions, and they had more divisions than that. And even there were many warriors, brave warriors were there on the Kaurava side. Yet he comes to this judgment. So this judgment of Duryodhana is indicating something, that there is a lack of inner self-confidence in Duryodhana. Though from top he is all showing off, a lot of very confident and all that, but from inside there is a problem. And we can make out the problem is inside because of what he is saying. Whatever, every word which he's uttering has got an implied meaning. So here there is a teaching for humanity that when this inner self-confidence will only be present in a person where the invisible factor of Ishwar Anugraha is there, Ishwara's blessings are there, then from inside there is going to be a confidence in the person. And that is where Duryodhana was lacking, And Ishwar Anugraha is always there where there is dharma. If there is adharma, God's blessings don't come there. And Duryodhana was the most adharmic person. So he had everything material wealth and all he had, but what he lacked was this invisible factor. Ishwara's blessings were missing for him. And that is why he was diffident, that there is a problem there. And on the contrary, the Pandavas side, the Pandavas are very righteous, dharmic people, and they had this unseen factor, the support of Bhagwan's blessings were with them, That is why they were not frightened. And Duryodhana is frightened, I don't know what all he's talking. Every word which he's uttering is showing that he is not confident, he's scared, So here in the Mahabharata war, we had seen in the last class that seeing Duryodhana's low confidence, low morale, Bhishma Pitama wants to uplift his morale. So there is a shloka which says, Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham. He uplifting his morale, bringing some enthusiasm in him. Kuru Vriddhaha Pitamaha. The Pitamaha, the eldest of the Kuru family, the grandfather, Simhanadam Vinad Uchaihi. He roared like a lion, to shake this person up, to uplift his morale. And then he Shankho Dadmo Pratapavan, he blew his conch. So when he blows his conch, this is literally like blowing the war bugle, you know. So this was indicating the readiness of the Kauravas and the commencement of the war. So once Bhishma Pitama blows his conch, then all the other Kauravas which are there, they sounded forth all the instruments they were carrying. Those days in the wars, you know, they would have drums and trumpets and cow horns and conches. So everybody started blowing, the Kauravas. They started blowing the instruments they were having. And that sound which was created was Tumlo Abhavat. It was, you know, earth-shaking sound. So we had seen up till here in the last class. Now we will read, because now the Pandavas have to respond to this call of Kauravas. So we will read the 14th shloka. Tata shvetair hayair yukte Mahati syandane sthitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shankau Pradadmatuhu. So, Tataha means thereafter. Shvetai, Shvet means white. Hayai means horses. Yukte means yoked. Mahati means great, Mahan. Syandane means the chariot. Sthitau means seated. Madhavaha, Bhagwan, and Pandavaha, Cha Eva means Arjuna also. Divyau, divine. Shankau, their conches. Pradatmatuhu, blue. So, after this, you know, the Kauravas blew their conches, then now it was, they showed their readiness, that they are ready. And if I don't know, you missed the last class, but in the last class, when Vedvyasaji talks about the Kauravas, all he says is that they all blew their conches and whatever instruments they had, and that made a lot of noise. That's it, that's what he says. But when he starts talking about the Pandavas, he starts saying everything is divine here, you know, that this is divine, that is divine. So this goes to show that Vedvyasaji's heart is with the Pandavas, you know, that because they are the righteous people. So, and not only Vedvyasaji's, everybody's heart was on their side only, you know. So here, the Pandavas have to respond, and just the way Bhishma Pitama was the most respected person in the Kaurava side, and he was the one who blew his conch first, you know. So he was the one who declared the commencement of the war from the Kaurava side. So as he was the most respected person in Kaurava side, in the Pandava side it is Bhagwan who is most respected, you know. So, and Bhagwan is the driver of Arjuna's chariot, you know. So here the Vedvyasaji says, he first describes Arjuna's chariot. And he says, Shvetair hayair yukte. Arjuna's chariot had white horses. Now in Bhagavad Gita, whatever is being said has an implied meaning, you know. So the white color of the horses means white always represents knowledge. It represents purity. That is why Saraswati ji is always wearing white. You know, she sits on her Vahana is that white swan, you know. It's a Hans, white Hans. She sits on white. White represents knowledge. She is the giver of knowledge. And Saraswati Vandana says, Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, shubhra vastra. She wears white clothes because white indicates knowledge and purity. Even in the ashrams and all, whenever a person goes to study the scriptures, the first phase of life is the brahmachari's life, and that time that is a phase of vividisha sannyasa, where one has to study the scriptures. They haven't yet got the knowledge, but they are going to study the scriptures. So at that time they all wear white, because white indicates knowledge. And white also indicates sattva guna in a person. And only when the sattva guna is pradhan in a person can a person get this knowledge. This knowledge will not be assimilated without sattva guna, So all that represents white. So the white horses here have a meaning here, And these white horses are yoked to Arjuna's chariot, which Bhagwan is driving. Now, in Kathopanishad, the chariot is compared to the physical human body. Human body is compared to the chariot. And the horses are our sense organs, And the white horses means pure sense organs. And these sense organs have to be in the control of the mind. If they are not in the control of the mind, the person's life, these senses will drive him crazy, So the reins which hold the horses represents the mind. And the reins are held in the charioteer's hand. The charioteer represents the buddhi. And the jiva, the master, sits in the chariot at the back. So in this present scenario, Bhagwan is the charioteer. He is holding the reins of the horses. And the horses are white in color, which shows all purity and knowledge here. So the white horses are yoked to his huge chariot, Mahati Sandhane. Mahati means which is Mahan, which is great. Sandhane means a chariot. So Arjuna's chariot was not any ordinary chariot, It was a gift to him from God. It was a celestial chariot given to him. That is what in this side everything is divine, divine. Even his chariot was not an ordinary chariot. And on that Mahati Sandhane are sthitau two people. Two people are seated on it. One is Bhagwan, Madhavaha, and Pandavas cha eva. And Arjuna is sitting at the back, So here in Bhagavad Gita we will see that most of the places both Bhagwan and Arjuna there are many names used for them, And each name is very appropriate to the context in which whatever is being studied. The name is very appropriate to that, So Vedyasa ji's knowledge is amazing, such great representation, Every word has got a meaning there. So here when he calls him Madhava, this has a meaning. Madhava we've seen earlier. It means Ma-dhava. Ma is Lakshmi ji, which means wealth, and Dhava means her husband. Madhava, the lord of the wealth, So Bhagwan is endowed with wealth here. And what wealth is that? It is always Vidyadhanam in spirituality. The spirituality is not interested in any other dhanam, Because Vidyadhanam sarvadhanat pradhanam. It is only the pradhan dhanam which a person can get. A person who doesn't have this dhanam is really a poor person, He lacks the actual dhanam. So Bhagwan is called Madhava here, because he is endowed with this knowledge, and he is going to impart this knowledge to Arjuna later. And then when the roles are going to change, presently Arjuna is the master and Bhagwan is his driver. But soon when Arjuna will have a crisis, over there, he's going to have a crisis. Then the roles change and Bhagwan is going to become the guru and Arjuna is going to become the shishya, and this knowledge is going to be imparted to him. And then Pandavas Chaiva, and Arjuna is sitting at the back. So both of them are seated here. And everybody is looking, the Pandavas are looking at Bhagwan to respond to the Kaurava side. That side Bhishma Pitama had started, and here now Bhagwan, all the Pandavas are looking at him that Bhagwan has to respond. So first Bhagwan blows, Divya Shankha Pradatmatuhu. Divya, the divine Shankh, Bhagwan also had a divine Shankh. Pandava, the Arjuna also had a divine Shankh which they blew. First, Bhagwan blows his Shankh. All the Pandava Shankhs names are going to tell now, So we will read the next one. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhimakarma Vrikodaraha. So here now all the names of all the Pandavas' conscious names are going to be given, and it is said that they all are divine, So Vedvyasa ji starts off with saying that Rishikeshaha Panchajanyam Pradatmatu. Here the verb that he blew the conch is not given because it is understood. So Bhagwan blows his conch, which is Panchajanyam. And Bhagwan is called Rishikeshaha over here. Rishikeshaha means, so we will first see the meanings of this. Panchajanyam is the name of the conch of Rishikesha, means Bhagwan. Devadattaha is the name of the conch of Dhananjaya, which is Arjuna. Poundram is the name of the conch of Bhima. Dadmo means blue. Mahashankham is a huge conch. Bhima Karma. Bhima had, his karmas were also Bhima, means karmas which are fierce and terrible deeds, Vrikodaraha. Vrikodara is a name of Bhima, another name of Bhima. So after this we will see. So Rishikesha, first Bhagwan blows the Panchajanyam conch, and Rishikesha means one who is the lord of our senses. Rishika Ishaha. Isha means Ishwaraha, and Rishika means the senses. Our senses are called Rishikaha, and Bhagwan is the lord of these senses, because in all of us, Bhagwan is the witness sitting inside all of us. He is the Sakshi who is present inside all of us, and he is witnessing our senses. He is blessing our senses and he is witnessing our senses, He is present as our Atma inside. And Atma only blesses everything inside. Body man science complex is blessed only by Atma, So Bhagwan is, Kenopanishad says, Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manoyad. Bhagwan is the master of our senses and the mind. He is present within us, and he is the one who is witnessing our senses, and he is the one who is blessing our senses. So he is called the Lord of the senses. Rishikesha means that. And he blows his conch, which is called Panchajanyam. Very beautiful names, all the conches have very beautiful names. Lots of Sanskrit one can learn here in Bhagavad Gita also. So these, these names, they also have a lot of Puranic stories. There were a lot of stories in Puranas given on this. So it seems that there was this Panchajanya Asuras, which Bhagwan had sorted out, and they were converted into his conch called Panchajanyam conch, So Bhagwan blows that conch. And Devadattam Dhananjaya. Arjuna is called Dhananjaya here. This is a title of Arjuna, Dhananjaya. It means Dhana Jayati Sarvatra. So he's a Kshatriya, and he used to always go for these wars. So whenever in a war they would defeat an enemy, then the enemy's wealth goes to these people, So they would acquire the enemy's wealth. So Jaya, every war they would get some wealth there, So he was Dhananjaya. He was always victorious in the wars, and so he would get a lot of dhana. So Dhanajayati Sarvatra Dhananjaya. That's his title. So, in Mahabharata, Arjuna is described as a very handsome person. He had very good looks, and not only looks, he was physically very strong. He was one of the best in warfare. He was the best archer, the most favorite student of Dronacharya. Even Indra Devata once had called him to heaven to assist him in a battle. He was that popular, very, very brave. He had name, he had fame, he had material wealth, and also he was a very righteous person. So when it comes to the from worldly point of view, he was the most successful person, Arjuna, because he had everything which a person would want. Yet, in the same chapter, we will see that he faces a crisis there, and for that he had no solution for that crisis, and he asks Bhagwan to help him over there. The crisis was sorrow, So imagine Arjuna, he was so brave, he was so wealthy, who had everything a human being could have, but he crumbles down and he becomes so sorrowful and he has no solution for this problem which he faces. So this teaches the human beings a lesson, that one can earn as much money as one wants to. You get property, you get material wealth, you have relationships, have children, have a comfortable life, very good. But all this is not going to take care of the inner human problem of attachment, dependence, sense of insecurity, fear, which is all a cause of sorrow in life, So all this which we accumulate outside does not help us actually to handle our life, So a person can only truly be successful if he can solve this problem of life. And what can solve this problem? Only moksha can solve this problem. There is no other way to solve this human sorrow problem. So a person who does not accomplish the four purusharthas, dharma, artha and kam and moksha, he's not a successful human being. He's actually failed in human birth. He came here as a human being and he goes away from here without getting moksha. He's not considered success. This outside stuff is not success at all. So this he's making it, this is telling us over here that no, a human being is not considered successful. And once you don't get moksha in this lifetime, then one can only say better luck, not next time, next janma, and not even next janma, next human janma. We don't know when that is going to happen. So this is the one time one has come as a human being and you have to get moksha over here. But people don't even know what moksha is. वो क्या होता है? वो कौन सी चिड़िया का नाम है? Moksha, They don't know what is Vedanta, so what is moksha? They don't want to come for that only, But no, the human problem can never be solved. Everybody is only finding temporary solutions from this sorrow. Everyone is running around. You see, ask them to sit in a empty, things will come, things will go over here. Today there may be people around you, tomorrow they may not be there, Then, can you face yourself alone? That only moksha is going to let you, help you face that. Face yourself, be by yourself, So, a person is unsuccessful. So, when it comes to the actual success, well then Arjuna hasn't yet got it, Arjuna got material success, but he hasn't got the spiritual success, which he is going to ask Bhagwan, and Bhagwan is going to give him the knowledge, So here Dhananjaya, he blows his conch called Devadattam. Deva means God, Datta means given to him by God. It was a gift to him by God. Arjuna's everything was God given. His chariot was God given, his conch is God given, Bhagwan himself is present there. So he was his the horses are white in color, everything is divine there, So he blows his conch, Devadattam. Then Pondram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. So the conch of Bhima is called Pondram, and Bhima himself is called Vrikodaraha here. That's a name given to him. Vrikodara means a person who has a stomach like a wolf. Vrika udaraha. Udara means stomach, vrik means wolf. Vrikasya udaram iva yassisaha vrikodaraha. So the Bhima is called vrikodaraha. Why? Because the uniqueness of wolf is that the wolf is always hungry and it never gets tripti after eating. Anytime, every time, wolf is always hungry. That is why we have a saying, he eats like a wolf, and keeping the wolf away from the door. There are idioms which say, because wolf is significant for eating ever hungry. But no matter how much a wolf eats, his stomach is always flat. Not only flat, it's like little bit of concave only, It doesn't show that it eats like this, And we people eat a little and we have the problem of battle of the bulge. Madhya Pradesh growing outwards, Eat a little and we have a problem here, But wolf doesn't have this problem. And Bhima, he was such a colossal person. The amount Bhima ate, that even whenever food is cooked in huge amount, it's called Bhima Pak, because that's the kind of food Bhima used to eat, So Bhima is compared to Vrikodaraha. And if Bhima ate that kind of food, it doesn't mean that he was like a sumo wrestler, all flabby. You know how sumo wrestlers are, huge and flabby. No, he is Vrikodaraha. He's huge and he's got a flat stomach and he could eat any amount, And after eating that much of food, proportionately he would do Bhima Karma. It's not that because he's eaten so much and then he's sleeping like Kumbhakarna for 6 months or he's just lying around. No. Bhima was not like that. Bhima would do Bhima Karma. Bhima Karma means Bhayankar Karma. Mahabharata talks about him, that he had killed so many Rakshasas and he didn't need many instruments, weapons. All he would do is uproot one tree from there and take out one electric pole from there and lift a mountain there. That was Bhima Karma, So he had killed so many Rakshasas. So then this kind of a huge person, Bhima, with the, who's a Vrikodaraha and who does Bhima Karma, he's not going to have a puny Shankh, His Shankh is Mahashankam, huge Shankh called this thing, Poundram. And he blew Dadmau, Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham, Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. So presently Bhagwan has blown his conch, then Arjuna blew his conch and Bhima blew his conch. Then we will read further. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sughoshamani Pushpakau. So all this which is being said, if you remember, Sanjay, Dhritarashtra's advisor, is telling him all this in Hastinapur, So here, Sanjay calls Yudhishthira Raja Yudhishthira. So we will first see the meanings. Ananta Vijayam. Ananta Vijayam is the name of the conch of Raja, the king, who is Kunti Putraha, who is the son of Kunti, and he is Yudhishthiraha. Then Nakula is younger brother, and so is Sahadevascha. Their Shankhas are called Sughosha and Mani Pushpakau. Very beautiful names. So here Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra, he says, Raja Yudhishthira, he blew this conch. So this is making it very clear, Sanjay knows it, that rightly Yudhishthira should have been the king and not Duryodhana. And he knows that Duryodhana is making a mistake, so he never missed an opportunity to point this out to Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra was so blind, not just physically blind, he was blind in his head. So he could never see all that his son is doing such wrong acts, So Sanjay is trying to point this out. And he says, Raja Yudhishthira, who is Kunti Putra. So Yudhishthira means Yudha Sthira, one who does not, who goes to a battlefield and does not run away like a coward, say Bharat Mata ki jai and run homewards. No, he was Sthira in the Yuddha, very, very courageous and brave person. And also he was the most righteous person. Yudhishthira's other name was Dharma Putra. He was so very dharmic, So Kunti Putra, he blew his conch called Ananta Vijayam. Ananta means which doesn't have anta. Ananta. And that means countless. Vijayam means victories. So Yudhishthira's conch had seen Ananta victories. Wherever in whichever battle he blew his conch, he always was victorious. He never ever saw a defeat. So his conch had the name Ananta Vijayam, and he is Kunti Putraha, who is Yudhishthira. Then his younger brothers, Nakulaha, Sahadevascha. Nakul, and their conches are Sughosha and Mani Pushpakau. So Sughosha is Nakula's conch, and Sughosha, Ghosha means sound, and Sughosha means the conch which has a very pleasant sound. Sughosha. And Mani in Sanskrit means gems. Pushpakau means that which is decorated on his conch like flowers, So Sahadev's conch was full of gems decorated like flowers. So Nakul's was very pleasant and Sahadeva's was Mani Pushpakau, and they blew their conches, Now the next two verses are connected, so we will read them together, Kasyasya Parameshwasaha Shikhandi cha Maharathaha Drishtadumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Prithvipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankhan Dadmo Prathak Prathak. Yeah. So, Kasyasya Param Ishvasaha, the Raja of Kashi. Ishvasa we had seen earlier means a bow. Bow was called Ishvasaha. And Param Ishvasaha means who has a great bow and also who is a great archer. Shikhandi cha Maharathaha. Shikhandi, who is a Maharathi. Maharathi, we've seen what it means. When people who can handle more than 10,000 enemies in the war together was a Maharathi, So Shikhandi was a Maharathi. Drishtadumnaha. Drishtadumna was the son of King Drupad. Viratascha, the king of Virata Desha. Satyakischa Aparajitaha. Satyaki, who was Aparajitaha, who was undefeatable. Aparajitaha. Drupadaha was King Drupada. Draupadeyaschaha means Draupadi's 5 sons. Draupadeyaschaha. Sarvashaha, from all the sides. Prithvipate, Sanjay is calling Dhritarashtra Prithvipate, means the ruler of this earth, he is just calling him that. Saubhadrascha Mahabahu. Saubhadra's son was Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is Mahabahu, the mighty Abhimanyu. Shankhan Dadmo, they all blew their conches. Prathak, separately, distinctly, they all blew their conches. So now, after the Pandavas, Bhagwan blew his conch first on the Pandava side, then all the 5 Pandavas blew their conches, and the names of the conches are given. Then Sanjay, in these two verses, he's telling Dhritarashtra about all the famous people who are present on the Pandava side, which blow their respective conches, And he calls him Prithvi Pate. Prithvi is the earth, Pate is the ruler of the earth. He's calling him, he's just fanning his ego, Dhritarashtra's ego, because Dhritarashtra was dying to be the king. He was not eligible to be the king, but he only wanted, his only dream was to become the king, and if he could not become, then his son must become the king, So calling him the king used to always make him very happy, So Sanjay calls him Prithvi Pate. And the first thing he says is, Kashyascha Param Ishvasaha. The Raja of Kashi, who has this huge bow and who is such a great archer, he is also blowing his conch. Then Shikhandi cha Maharathaha. Shikhandi, who was a Maharathi, he blew his conch. Shikhandi was born to kill Bhishma Pitama, if you know the story in Mahabharata, Shikhandi was the reincarnation of Amba. Amba was the eldest daughter, a very pretty looking daughter of the king of Kashi. And she had two more sisters, Ambika and Ambalika. So when they were having their Swayambar for these three girls, king of Kashi had held a Swayambar for them. This information Bhishma Pitama got, So he goes to this Swayambar and he abducts these three for his stepbrother, which is Vichitravirya, for these girls to marry him, And he takes the girls there, And there he comes to know that Amba was actually in love with King Salva. And they two had already decided there in the Swayambar that she is going to, choose him there. But this Bhishma Pitama picks up these three girls and he brings them here. So when Bhishma comes to know about this later, then he released Amba. He says, okay, since you were already reserved and you were going to marry this King Salva, you go back. And these two got married to Ambika, and Ambalika got married to Vichitravirya. So when Amba goes back over there, Salva rejects her. He says, no, after all this which has happened, I'm not going to marry, you're impure now, So he rejects her. And that was such a big shock for Amba that she went into penance and she prayed to Bhagwan Shiva that you take me away from here now, and I want to be reborn as a person who will kill this Bhishma Pitama, So Amba, Bhagwan blessed her, and Amba died, and she was reborn as Shikhandi. Actually Shikhandi was born a woman, Shikhandini. And then one of the yakshas changed her into Shikhandi. So Shikhandi was born only to kill Bhishma Pitama, So what happens in the war that when Bhishma Pitama comes to know about Shikhandi, he knew everything about all this because all this story he knew, So when Shikhandi comes in front, Bhishma Pitama was such a manly person that he would never raise his hand to a woman or anybody related with a woman or a reincarnation of a woman also. And anyway, Shikhandi was a woman first, So he didn't fight back. And taking his shield, Arjuna pierced Bhishma Pitama with so many arrows, So Shikhandi was the cause of Bhishma Pitama's death. He was born only for that reason. So he was a Maharathi, so he blows his conch. Then Drishtadumna's story we've seen. He was born to kill Dronacharya. He was born only for that. Then Viratascha, the king of Virata Desh. And then Satyaki, who was Aparajita, is just not defeatable. Satyaki's other name was Yuyudhano. We've seen another shloka with that, Yuyudhano, in the first class, So Satyaki was, no matter what, he was such a brave person, he was Aparajita. Then Drupadaha is there, King Drupad is there, and 5 sons, Draupadi, Yashaha, all the 5 sons of Draupadi are there. Sarvasha, from all the sides these people were standing in the battlefield, And Subhadra's Mahabahu. Subhadra's son Abhimanyu, who is Mahabahu. Mahabahu does not mean one who has huge biceps and triceps. That is not Mahabahu. Mahabahu means a mighty person, is valor they are talking about. He is so brave. So all these people are standing differently, all in all directions, Sarvashaha, in the battlefield. And Shankhan Dadma Prathak Prathak. They all blew their conches, So from the Pandava side, the Kauravas had blown their conches, and there was a huge sound which was Tumalo Abhavat, And now the Pandavas, when they blew, and their conches were all divine, so the noise was even more, So now there's a whole lot of sound there, and then we'll talk about it in the next verse, which we'll read. Saghosho dhartarashranam Hridayani vyadarayat Nabhasya prithvim chaiva Tumalo vyanunadayan. Sir means that. Ghosho, that sound which is produced by all the conches on the Pandava side. Dhartarashtra nam, the sons of Dhritarashtra, all the Kauravas. Hridayani, the hearts. Vyadarayat, pierced. Nabhasya, the sky. Prithvim cha eva, and the earth. Tumala means tumultuous, that sound. Vyanunadayan, it reverberated, resounded between the sky and the earth, So the way Sanjay is describing all this, it shows only that it is very clear to him that Pandavas, these Kauravas are not a match to Pandavas, Pandavas had Bhagwan's blessings there, and they were very, very good as compared to the Kauravas, So that is why he is saying this, that so when the sound the Kauravas hear, they get scared, their hearts are pierced with that sound. We all have experienced fear in our life, how the heart goes down, there's fear, and then there's butterflies in the stomach, So the same thing is happening to the Kauravas. When they hear this sound pierces their heart. Hridayani vyadarayat. And this sound was so tumultuous that it reverberated between the sky and the earth. Nabhasya prithvim cha eva tumulo vyanunadayan. Anunadayan means echo. And Vyanunadayan means it reverberated between the sky and the earth. This sound, there in the battlefield was so scary. The Kauravas had got scared hearing this sound, So a whole lot of sound coming from Pandava's side. Now, this next, the shloka and the 21st, the first line of 21st shloka and the 20th shloka are connected. So we will read the 20th and the first line of 21st shloka, right? Atha vyavasthitan drishtva dhartarashtran kapidhvajaha pravritte shastra sampate dhanurudyamya pandavaha ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदम् आह महीपते. So atha means then. Vyavasthitan means standing in vyavastha, standing in battle formation. Drishtva, seeing. Dhartarashtran means the sons of Dhritarashtra, Kauravas. Kapidhvajaha, Arjuna is called Kapidhvaja here. We will see what is the meaning of Kapidhvaja. Pravritti means action. Pravritte, it always means the commencement of the war. There's pravritti there, war is going to start. Shastra sampate, with all weapons ready, shastra sampati. Dhanu, dhanu means his bow. Udyama, he raised his bow. Pandavaha, Arjuna, he raised his bow, almost ready to fight. Just then, Rishikeshaha tada, then Vakyam idam aha, he said something to Rishikeshaha, Bhagwan. So just when he raised his bow to start the fight, he sees something and he decides to say something to Bhagwan. Rishikesham tada vakyam idam aha mahipate means the king. That is, Sanjay is calling Dhritarashtra Mahipate, the king, So, this word, atha. Now, there is a turning point here in this part of Mahabharata. Change happens, this turn of events, the situations going to change here now, Whatever is happening, suddenly things are going to change. And in a movie or a TV serial, when a change of scene has happened, they will have background music, they will flash the cameras forward, backward on the person. There are many ways to show that the scene is going to change. But Vedvyasa ji has only words with him. So he uses the word atha. Atha in Sanskrit, it's a very, very famous word, as important as Om. Atha is that important. It means now, after all this has happened, there is going to be a difference, something is going to change here, So just one word he uses and we are supposed to figure this out, that whole scene is going to change over there, So when he sees Vavasthitan Drishtva, when Arjuna sees this entire Dhritarashtra's, the Kauravas army standing in battle formation, he is called Kapidhwaja over here. Dhwaja means what? Means the flag, Dhwaja. And Kapi means the monkey. So on his Dhwaja, every chariot in the war had a Dhwaja, and on the Dhwaja there was an emblem. They all had, just like, the army officers' vehicles. In the war, all the senior officers from, all the ranks are there on the vehicle. You can make out who's sitting, general, brigadier, major general, lieutenant general, who's sitting inside, you can make out, because of those ranks which are there on the vehicle. So in those days, the chariot had the dhwaja and it had an emblem, and anybody could make out, oh, that is that one's chariot, So Arjuna's chariot had Kapidhwaja. He had Hanumanji made on it, Anjaneya was sitting on his emblem, So it had so happened that, Hanumanji and Bhima, they were Vayuputras. So they are like brothers, So when this war was to begin, Bhima went to Anjaneya and he said that you please come to the war and you bless us, because with your blessings we will win. And Hanumanji is Chiranjeevi. He is present in every yuga. He was present in Ramayana Kalam. He had such a huge hand there in that war. It was because of him, he had major part in the victory over there, So he's present in Treta Yuga, he's present in Dwapar Yuga, he's present in Kali Yuga, he's present now. Anybody can call out for Bhagwan's help and the help will come. You can check it out yourself, especially a bhakta. Not just Hanumanji's bhakta, a real true dharmic bhakta, he just has to call out for Bhagwan's name, Bhagwan's going to send help. Be very, very sure about that, So Bhagwan is around presently also. So since he is Chiranjeevi, he is present in this time also when this war is taking place. He was present in that Ramayana Kalam also. So Bhima asked him that you please come and bless us, So Hanumanji agreed. He says, okay, I will come. I will be present invisibly, but I will be represented by the emblem on Arjuna's chariot, So he is actually sitting there invisibly, And because he sat there, he even got the opportunity to listen to Gita Upadesha, Krishna Upadesha. He managed to listen, So he was present invisibly, he heard that, and he has written a commentary on Gita. It is called Hanumat Pishach Bhashyam. Bhashyam means a commentary. Pishacha means that who doesn't have a physical form. He's a Pishacha who doesn't have a physical form. So he was present invisibly. That commentary still is available. Hanumat Pishacha Bhashyam is very much available. That commentary was written by Anjaneya, So he was present there. So his Arjuna's had Kapidhwaja. His chariot had that dhwaja. And that is why he is called Kapidhwaja over here. So when Kapidhwaja, that is Arjuna, he sees this Dhartarashtra and Vyavasthan standing all in battle formation, Pravritti means action, and Nivritti means, withdrawal from action. Nivritti is withdrawing from action, Pravritti is action. So Pravritti, the war is about to begin. There's Pravritta which is going to take place. Shastra Sampate, with all weapons, everybody is ready. It's about to start the war, Dhanar Udyama. Arjuna raises his dhanush, about to release the dhanush. Then he says, Rishi Kesham, then Bhagwan, he says, Tada, then, Vakyam Idam Aha. This particular Vakyam, this is, who's telling? Sanjay is telling Dhritarashtra this, Mahipate, after Arjuna saw all this, he says something to Bhagwan. Just like when Duryodhana had seen the Pandavas' army, he went running to Dronacharya and he said a lot of things. No, we've seen that in the earlier class. So now when Arjuna sees the Kauravas' army, he stops and he says something to Bhagwan. What he says, we are going to read. So now, this one line which we had seen of 21, we are going to read. 22 verse we'll read, and we will also read 23rd verse. These are all connected. So we'll read. Arjuna Uvacha Senayorubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapaya Mechyuta Yavad etan niriksheham Yodhukaman avasthitan Kairmaya sahayodavyam Asmin ranasamudyame Yotsemananaveksheham Ya etetra samagataha Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhehe Yuddhe priyachikirshavaha Arjuna Uvachaha. Arjuna says, Senayo, the army, Ubhayoho. Ubhayo means two, Ubhayo. Madhye, in between. Ratham, the chariot. Sthapaya, place, please place. Me, mine. Achyutaha. He calls Bhagwan Achyutaha. Yavad, so that. Etan, these people. Niriksheham, I will do their niriksha. I will survey them properly. Yodhu kaman. Kama means desire. Yodhu kaman, those people who are desirous of fighting the war. Avasthitan, who are arranged there in battle formation. Kair maya saha, with whom I will go, which I am going to. Yodhyam, with whom I am going to fight. All those people I want to see whom I am going to fight. Asmin rana samudyame. Samudyame means on the onset, in the beginning of the battle. Whom asmin rana, in this battle, in this war, whom I am going to fight first, I want to see. So you please place my chariot in between both the armies. He is telling this to Bhagwan. Yotse manana, with those people who have intention of fighting, aveksheham, I will see them properly, because there was not just the Kauravas, there were many other kings from different kingdoms who had joined the Kauravas army, so he wanted to see who all are there. Ya ete, all those, atra, here, samagataha, who have gathered. Dhartarashtrasya durbuddhehe, the sons of Dhritarashtra who are durbuddhehe, who have distorted thinking. Yuddhe priyachikirshavaha, Chikirshava means doing some action. Chikirsha means that. And Priya means what is pleasing to them. They are doing, they're fighting this war because it is pleasing to them, not because it is righteous. They want to fight a war, because they didn't agree for anything else, So this is what he says. So here Arjuna, after he raised his Dhanush, he saw the Kauravas' army, and because the Kauravas' army was a little far away, he really couldn't see everybody very clearly. So he told Bhagwan, who was his driver, he actually commands Bhagwan, because he is the master and Bhagwan is his driver, that please place my chariot in between both the armies, Achyutaha. So he calls Bhagwan Achyutaha. This, a beautiful name of Bhagwan, is very, very significant name, Achyutaha. Chuti means falling down from one's nature. Achyutaha, who never falls down from his nature, So this has both religious as well as spiritual significance, this word, Religiously it means Bhagwan who never fails himself. He's infallible. Whatever he wants to do, the Satya Sankalpa he takes, he's always going to accomplish that. Whatever he wants to accomplish, he's going to accomplish, because he's omniscient, he's omnipotent, Sarvagya, Sarvashaktiman, he's Bhagwan. So he is Achyuta because of that. And the other thing religiously it means is, he is the only one who is trustworthy. You can depend only on Bhagwan in this life of yours, All the Pandavas trusted him only. We saw in the beginning, Kaivartakaha Keshavaha. He was the boatman of Pandavas, Rana Nadi, he takes them across the Rana Nadi. It was a beautiful shloka in the Dhyan shlokas which we saw, So not only Pandavas, he took the Pandavas across that battle, the whole river battle, in that shloka it is said. But if we want help ever, be very, very sure about this. Bhagwan is going to come to our rescue, And he will, on a person who has mokshutvam, a true desire of moksha, he is going to take him across the ocean of samsara, So only trustworthy person is Bhagwan because he is Achyutaha, He doesn't let down anybody. These local people here, we may depend on somebody like the government or people around. They may help, they may not help when the time comes. But be very sure that Bhagwan is not he is the only one who is trustworthy. He will never let anybody down because he is Achyutaha, So those two, the religiously it has got these two meanings. Bhagwan who doesn't fail himself and who never lets down another person, doesn't let a human being down. He will always be there for your help. You just have to sincerely call out for God's help, And who experienced this? Draupadi experienced this during her Vastraharan, in that kingdom there. All these evil Kauravas started pulling her sari, and her 5 powerful husbands standing there, Bhishma Pitama standing there, Dronacharya standing there. They couldn't do anything. And she just let go and she surrendered to Bhagwan, and they kept pulling her sari. She kept going round and round, and that sari did not end. That they got tired of pulling her sari, but sari did not end. Bhagwan came to her help because she surrendered to God, because Bhagwan is Achyutaha. And spiritually, this significant word means the one who never falls from his true nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda. Bhagwan is Param Brahmaha, he is infinite, he never falls into samsara. That is why his birth is not called Janma, it is called Avataran. Janma is falling down, Avataran is descending down. Janma is samsara patanam. People are born here, they get stuck in samsara, But Bhagwan comes here to lift humanity, He takes them out of samsara. Because he is Achyutaha, So both religiously and spiritually, very, very significant meanings it has. Bhagwan who is trustworthy, trust only Bhagwan and nobody else, and Bhagwan who never falls into samsara, He will pull us out of the samsara. So, Arjuna he calls Bhagwan Achyutaha, that you please place my Ratha in between both the armies, Yavat, so that Etan Nirikshehem, I want to really see all these people who are standing here in battle formation, Yuddhu Kaman Avastitan, all desirous of this war. I want to have a look at them. Kair Maya Sahayodavyam, whom I have to fight with, I want to see. Asmin Rana Samudyame, in this battle, on the onset, I want to first see whom I have to fight with. Kauravas he knew, but there are so many other kings also there, he wants to see. Yotsemanan Aveksheham, I want to see all those people who have intention of fighting, and they have Ete Atra Samagata, and they have all gathered here desirous of fighting, and they are doing Priyachikir, Yuddhe Priyachikir Shavaha. They want to fight because they want to fight. It's not that righteously they are fighting this war. So he calls Dhata Rashtrasya Durbuddhehe. He calls the Kauravas Durbuddhe, means Dushta Buddhi, Adharmik Buddhi people. Now Arjuna calling the Kauravas Durbuddhe has a meaning here. It has a significance here. Means that Arjuna was very annoyed. That is why he is using this word. He was such a cultured person, he won't use these words just like that. Durbuddhe, stupid person, all that. He won't use those kind of words. But he is using because his blood is boiling, It's boiling because these people have done so much of injustice towards the Pandavas, or such adharmic people, everything adharma they have done. And as a Kshatriya, as a righteous person, his duty is to restore dharma. That is all that is there in Arjuna's mind presently, He knows that this war is not about the relatives who are standing there, not at present, not at this present point of Mahabharata. His mind is absolutely clear that his duty is to restore dharma, that he is a Kshatriya, and he is not bothered about whoever standing in front. Yeah, Bhishma Pitama, very nice, he is great, he has brought me up, and Dronacharya, very nice, he's taught me everything, but there are no emotions and sentiments in his mind presently, because his intellect is deciding. His intellect is in control, all the decisions are his intellect is taking. His intellect is not overpowered by the emotional mind just now at this present, So this is a teaching for the human beings. As long as the emotional mind is not ruling the roost, as long as a human being's intellect is taking the decisions, that human being's decisions are going to be right. His judgment is going to be right. But whenever the emotions overpower the intellect, when these sentiments start coming in a person and he doesn't see what is right and wrong, that is where all the confusion starts, Emotions are very good. We all are human beings only because of emotions. Otherwise, we'd be like a stone without emotions, But these emotions have to be under the control of the buddhi. Otherwise, the person will be a failure in life, So intellect has to be in control. And somewhere gradually, up till now, Arjuna is very clear, His intellect is ruling and he has got no emotions presently. He is not worried about who's standing on the other side. All he can see is, it is adharma there and we have to restore dharma. We have to see, and these are the dharmic people, So he had come very happily to the battlefield with no compunctions at all, And he knew that a war means it is himsa. War is not which a dharmic person thinks of very easily, And here it was killing your own kith and kin, But he knows that presently in his mind everything is very clear. Yeah, when you have to restore dharma, there is going to be some destruction. There is no doubt there is going to be, because I have to restore dharma, Of course, it is the last resort. The war is always the last resort, So presently Arjuna's mind is being controlled by his buddhi, and he is very, very clear that he has to restore dharma. His duty as a Kshatriya is paramount to him, and he is not bothered about the relatives who are standing there. But soon the scene is going to change, The moment Bhagavan places his chariot in front of his people, that is where the trouble starts, because his emotions start overpowering his discrimination. The attachment which he has for these people, it overpowers his judgment, and all the problem starts happening. And and he suffers so much of sorrow, he becomes so sorrowful, which we are going to see in this chapter only. And that is when Bhagavan is going to give this Upadesha. Gita Upadesha is going to start because Arjuna felt that so sorrowful. And Gita Upadesha is all about art of living. This life, we have to live in a certain way, That is what Gita is going to teach us. Here, things will come and things will go. Money may come, it will go. Health may come, it can go. Relationships can come, they can go. Anytime they can go. But while we are going through this journey of life, through all these ups and downs, a person who has this knowledge is going to be emotionally totally balanced. He will have no issues at all. That is a successful person, and that successful person is supposed to have got moksha by this knowledge. So this knowledge is Bhagavan is going to give, and what happens here, then we will see further, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.